Presidential elections may happen every 4 years, but state and local elections, which have direct impacts on our day-to-day lives, happen every year. When I say state and local elections matter, this is what the fuck I mean. The Tennessee State House just passed a new immigration enforcement bill that is being sent to the Governor Bill Lee to sign. This bill does a couple of things, but the first thing that it does is creates a new state enforcement office, particularly for immigration. Second, it provides grants to law enforcement so they have more resources to detain and deport people. They create distinct licenses for non-citizens, which hold on to that for a second. And it also makes it a felony for public officials who are elected officials to even vote for sanctuary policies. Sanctuary policies are basically policies that keep people's human dignity and respect intact, that the state can make policies to not have to report to the federal government, oh, we have all these undocumented immigrants. It also gives the state the ability to decide whether or not they want to give them legal citizenship within their own state's bounds. And since Republicans always want to talk about states' rights, this shouldn't be a fucking problem, right? With this bill, the state's elected officials cannot even vote for sanctuary policies because of Class E felony, punishable by up to 6 years in prison and a $3,000 fine for any public official who votes in favor of the so-called sanctuary policies. Imagine being an elected official and having to represent your constituents, but you can't even vote in a way that would protect their human dignity and respect. If that's not the worst part, let's go back to this part where they said creating distinct licenses for non-citizens so they can specifically identify non-citizens and people who are undocumented. I remember my history, and I remember in Nazi Germany when kids and adults had to wear the Star of David to be identified as Jewish in public. If you thinking right now, fuck them, that's just Tennessee, wrong. There's a plethora of different examples that demonstrate that states' laws do end up becoming federal law by many different ways. As an example, the Minimum Wage Fair Labor Standards Act of 1938 happened in Massachusetts first and New York because in the 1910s and 1920s, they already had those laws. The federal law got signed in 1938 by Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Same thing with worker compensation laws. In 1911, the state of Wisconsin had it way before the federal law was passed in 1916. And so on and so forth. But there's other ways that state laws can become federal laws. Like for instance, when a state knows that a law that they put out is unconstitutional and they want it to be litigated in the courts so that they can be appealed all the way to the Supreme Court so that the Supreme Court could make a decision and make it the federal law of the land. If you don't believe me, the 2018 Mississippi Gestational Age Act was the state law that triggered the Dobbs v. Jackson Women's Health Organization Supreme Court case in which Roe v. Wade was overturned and made abortions illegal across the country. Make no mistake about it, the Republicans are playing a very coordinated and concerted effort across the states, and they know what they're doing. Stay focused.